Good morning. I'm Brian Schmidt with Schmidt Security Pro, and this is Jordan Schaeper, who represents our Schmidt Fire Division. And I want to thank you all for taking a few minutes out of your morning to spend it with us so we can share some information that we've found regarding the Ohio Childhood Safety Act. And it's a integral part of building safety in K through 12 schools moving forward. The act was passed October, actually, of 2024, and we hope to just share some information that we found out about it, as well as provide some resources for hoping to make sure you stay in compliance and keeping buildings and students and faculty safe in buildings. So, Jordan, why don't we go ahead and get started?
All right.
And Jordan's our resident technical expert on the topic and the Safety Act and what's required. And so we're going to go through some key points and share those with you. I guess, first of all, what is the Ohio Childhood Safety Act?
Yeah, so the Ohio Childhood Safety Act was signed into law by Governor DeWine in October of 2024, as Brian said, after it passed through the House and the Senate in Ohio. And its goal is to, as Brian said, keep everybody in your building safe in an emergency. So one of the things that it requires is that you have to have, in a K through 12 school building, your protective door assemblies inspected annually. And to ensure that they're closing properly, they're latching properly, and they're just keeping everybody in the building safe the way that they need to. This helps in the event if you have an emergency situation that requires evacuation to ensure that the doors are able to be opened and people can get out of your building, or if there's an event where you have, say, a lockdown event, a security event where you need to ensure that nobody's coming into your building, you need to make sure that your doors are latching properly.
Okay, all right, super. So you use the term protected door assembly. And obviously schools have lots of doors. And so what is a protected door assembly that would need to be inspected?
Yeah, so the protective door assembly is a term that comes from NFPA 101, which is the Life Safety Code, which, if you're not familiar with it, that's where the Ohio Childhood Safety Act gets all of its information from. So they have 4 different criteria for what is a protective door assembly. The first criteria is if the door has either what they call panic or fire exit hardware, which is a crash bar. And if you're familiar with doors, you have a bar that you push in, it unlatches, and it lets you out. The second criteria is anything that's in an exit assembly. So that would include all your exterior exit doors. Also, any doors that are in the interior part of a vestibule, part of an exit vestibule. So those are all going to be considered. The third and fourth ones, the criteria aren't necessarily specific for schools. The third one is if it has delayed egress hardware on it, which means it's one of those bars you push in, you hold it for 3 seconds, and then it sounds an alarm and it unlocks the door in 15 seconds. I'm going to assume that most schools don't have that kind of a system. And then the fourth one is what they call a special locking arrangement, which is a lot of times used in like apartment buildings. If you go up an elevator, you have to fob to get into the actual hallway. Those doors are required to be part of this as well. Like I said, probably not indicative of what a school's going to have.
Okay. So in general, it sounds to me like these are pretty much perimeter doors in schools.
Yeah.
Is that fair to say? That's basically what it includes.
Yep. I'd say the biggest rule of thumb is if your door has a crash bar. If it's got a crash bar, it's probably going to fall under a protective door assembly.
Okay, super. Some things we internally talked about, it's like, well, why were these doors singled out? Why are they important? They're perimeter security protection, of course. If we want in most schools a single point of entry to come into the building so visitors can check in and be accounted for. And obviously, if there were to be a lockdown situation that were to occur, the act helps to ensure that those doors are latching properly and can't just be entered by anybody from the outside coming in. And as Jordan mentioned as well, from a fire standpoint, fire safety, also we want to ensure that the ability for those doors to open when they need to so people can get out of the building is also very important. So those are some key things with regards to the act. I guess maybe it's a good time to go into the annual inspection and what's actually required during the inspection. There's, I know, some key components, and can you touch base a little bit on what's required during the inspection?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. The NFPA 101, like I said, has the guidelines for what the inspection entails. It is a 13-point inspection, so there are 13 things that are going to be checked during that inspection. Some of the things are very simple, such as is there something blocking the door? Did somebody put a fridge in front of the door? That would be a weird example, but it's happened. So if you're going to check that, there's also some more technical things where you're going to measure the force of the door, how much force it takes to unlatch the door, how much force it takes to fully open the door. So for that, you're going to want to measure in newtons with a tool that's designed to do that. And then you also need to check, say, the closing speed of the door. The closing speed, according to ADA, is going to need to be 5 seconds or greater. So all those things fall under that. Plus, there's a few other things. They also detail who's supposed to be doing this inspection. So they list a skilled or qualified inspector, somebody who's either trained or has experience in the field working on door assemblies. And then also it defines corrective action that needs to happen if your door fails, that you need to take certain steps in order to ensure that the door is going to pass and be in proper order. And then also a big thing is record keeping. So similar to any fire inspections that you might be having on your building currently, fire alarms or sprinklers or extinguishers, you have to keep a record of those inspections being completed and if they passed or failed. These doors are also going to require those records to be kept and maintained at the school as well.
Okay. So the record keeping would be in a format similar to a fire alarm inspection, for example.
Correct. Yeah.
And so that it can be accessed by the inspector. Okay. Super. You touched base a little bit already on common deficiencies and it sounds like the latching, the closing. Those are all big components of it, and making sure that just the functioning of the door is proper.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if the hardware is not functioning properly, if the latch is not latching fully, if the closer is not closing the door as much as it should, then obviously that's something that can cause your door to be deficient as a result of this inspection. That's something that you need to take some corrective action in order to repair.
Okay. Super. You touched base on a little bit, I guess, with regards to enforcement. It sounds like the state fire marshal's office, and that's going to filter down to local AHJs, local authorities having jurisdiction. Typically, local fire inspectors will be the ones who are responsible for enforcement of that. And it sounds like starting next year, at least in 2026, they'll be looking for those inspection reports to be available. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, super. I guess just to recap is, basically these inspections, they're in place, the requirements in place to help ensure the safety of the occupants, so that we can prevent people that shouldn't be in the building from coming in, and also make sure the people that are in the building can get out quickly and safely if needed. It does follow the NFPA 101 guidelines with regards to the inspections, and then it will be an annual inspection that's required, and the documentation of that inspection will need to be on site and maintained as well.
Yep.
Super. Well, hopefully that was beneficial to the people involved and that joined us this morning for the webinar. We appreciate you taking your time. Like Jordan mentioned, we do have the capabilities, and we're here to help make sure that you stay in compliance by offering those inspection services, as well as the ability to provide the documentation that'll need to be in place afterwards. And we're happy to share that information with you this morning. And if you have any questions or would like to schedule your door inspections, please don't hesitate to give us a call at the number that should pop up on the screen here in a minute, or you can email Jordan directly at his email address that's on there as well. And thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for your time.
Taking the time.